To have Gary and his team of judo lawyers go to work for you, dial #HURT.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt, and my dear friend, it is so good to see you, Gary C. Johnson.
Wonderful to be here. Hey, guys and gals, how you doing? You had a wonderful week with all this stress and strife and worry and all that? Each and every one of you, I hope, had a wonderful week. Tonight, the program is going to be about something fairly interesting, I hope, to you folks. It's definitely not going to be about the law. So if you think you're going to learn any law on this program, click it. But I've got something that I ran across, a short story that says it all about what we need to be doing in life. And I want to share it with you tonight. Remember, of the programs over the years, I've always said, learn to be there. You're always going to be somewhere, and you need to be where you are at the time. Not worried about what happened yesterday, but not thinking about where you're going to be after a while or tomorrow, but be where you are. This short story sort of talks about that I want to share with you. So without further ado, believe it or not, we are going to go to the computer. There's our number in case anyone needs to reach us. We're in Lexington, Executive Drive. There's the number. GaryCJohnson.com. In general, please make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. Check your policy. Now, what's the program about? The short story. It's the 3 questions by Leo Tolstoy. I guess that's how you put it. He was a Russian writer. I think he died in 1910. And there was a short story that I was looking for things, being nosy on Google, and I ran across this short story by Leo Tolstoy. And I want to share it with you because it's got a good lesson in it. So folks, bear with me. You're getting ready to hear a story. It once occurred to a certain king that if he always knew the right time to begin everything, if he knew who were the right people to listen to, and above all, if he always knew what was the most important thing to do, he would never fail in anything he might undertake. The 3 questions. When is the right time to begin everything? Who were the right people to listen to? And what was the most important thing to do? That the king was one. He knew he would never fail. So, and this thought having occurred to him, he had it proclaimed throughout his kingdom that he would give a great reward to anyone who would teach him what was the right time for every action, who were the most necessary people, and how he might know what was the most important thing to do. Learned men came from all over the kingdom to the king, but they all answered his questions differently, and it was not satisfactory. All the answers being different, the king agreed with none of them, and he gave the reward to none. But still wishing to find the right answers to his questions, he decided to consult a hermit widely renowned for his wisdom. The hermit lived in a wood which he never quitted, and he received none but common folk. So the king put on simple clothes, and before reaching the hermit's cell, dismounted from his horse, leaving his bodyguard behind, he went on alone. When the king approached, the hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. Seeing the king, he greeted him and went on digging. The hermit was frail and weak, and each time he stuck his spade into the ground, he turned a little earth. He breathed heavily. The king went up to him and said, I have come to you, wise hermits, to ask you to answer 3 questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I most need? And whom should I therefore pay more attention than to the rest? And what affairs are the most important and need my first attention? The hermit listened to the king, but answered nothing. He spat on his hands and recommenced digging. You are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work a while for you. When he dug 2 beds, the king stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit again gave no answer, but rose, stretched out his hand for the spade, and said, Now rest a while, and let me work a bit. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed and another. The sun began to sink behind the trees. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. Let's see who it is. And let's take a break, and we'll come right back to continue the story.
What an intriguing opening. I mean, you've got my attention, and I'm sitting here trying to come up with the answers to all these 3 questions. I'm wondering if I'm going to be right, and I'm sure you are too. Stay with us. We'll come back with the second part of the story. This is Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. Eastern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, and southwest Virginia. It can be a tough territory to reach when it comes to marketing. We can help. We can also help you find your identification. And we have plenty of services to do it and a lot of experience behind us, over 37 years. In fact, we've either booked or sold nearly $70 million in advertising in this region. You need a new voice, a new idea, a new concept? Casebolt Marketing. We're ready to go to work for you today. Our motto is nothing happens until you make it happen. So let's get started today. Welcome back into Simply the Law. Now, as soon as you popped up the 3 questions, I don't know about everybody at home, but I started trying to come up with the answer. When is the right time to do it? And I was sitting here going, the right time is maybe now? And I was answering that question. And then I was going to the second one. Who should I listen to most? And I was trying to come up with the answers. And when you got to the paragraph about every man was giving a different answer, all of the learned people that come, I thought maybe all the answers are right. So you've got my curiosity going on the story.
It's an interesting short story. It was interesting enough for me to take an entire program and devote to it. So let's go back to the computer, my friends, and see what happens. The king turned around and saw a bearded man come running out of the woods. The man held his hands pressed against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. There was a large wound in his stomach. The king washed it as best he could and bandaged it with his handkerchief and with a towel the hermit had. The king again and again removed the bandage soaked with warm blood and washed and rebandaged the wound. Meanwhile, the sun had set, and it had become cool. So the king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. Lying on the bed, the man closed his eyes and was quiet, but the king was so tired from his walk and from the work he had done that he crouched down on the threshold and also fell asleep. When he woke in the morning, it was long before he could remember where he was, or who was the strange bearded man lying on the bed and gazing intently at him with shining eyes. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice, when he saw that the king was awake and was looking at him. "I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. I am that enemy of yours who swore to revenge himself on you because you executed his brother and seized his property. I knew you had gone alone to see the hermit, and I resolved to kill you on your way back. But the day passed and you did not return. So I came out from my ambush to find you and came upon your bodyguard. They recognized me and wounded me. I should have bled to death had you not dressed my wound. I wish to kill you, and you have saved my life. Now if I live and you wish it, I will serve you as your most faithful slave and will bid my sons do the same. Forgive me. Let's take a break because the ending is getting ready to come up to this story.
Oh my goodness. What about the twist in this? Because I did not see that coming. Stay with us. More with Gary C. Johnson, the 3 questions, and it looks like an exciting ending when we come back. Who really knows which lawyer you should choose? Other lawyers know. They've invited Gary C. Johnson to teach his method of judo law in Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, and across the nation. Gary used judo law to set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the history of Kentucky. Now, which lawyer should you choose? The choice is clear. Gary C. Johnson. Dial #HURT. This is an advertisement. Welcome back into Simply the Law. My friend, I understand why you picked this story now, because the twist and the turns of this little parable or story that you're giving us has been unexpected. That part of it caught me completely by surprise.
Well, so will the ending, I suspect. And I think we'll probably get to the ending now. So folks, let's get ready. Let's go back to the computer. Before going away, the king, which is he, wished once more to beg an answer to the questions he had put. The hermit, you have already been answered, said the hermit. Do you not see, replied the hermit, if you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug those beds for me, but had gone your way, that man would have attacked you and you would have repented of not having stayed with me. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds, and I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. Afterwards, when that man ran to us, the most important time was when you were attending to him. For if you had not bound up his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. Remember then, there is only one time that is important, now. It is the most important time because it is the only time when you have any power. The most necessary person is the one with whom you are, for no man knows whether he will ever have dealings with anyone else. And the most important affair to do is that person good, because for that purpose alone was man sent into this life. And be there.
Okay, so here you have talked to us before about be there and be in the moment. So this whole story comes out that the king was looking for these answers to the questions, and had he not dug the hole, he would certainly been attacked. He would have been killed. Had he not befriended
Had
the
he not
guy,
attended to the person that was with him.
yes, and helped,
Right.
and stayed until the sun come down, he would have certainly been attacked and been killed.
That was the time.
That was the time. And then the attacker, he bound the wound, saved his life, got the forgiveness, repaired.
The binding of the wound and taking care of the attacker was the time.
Yes. And the person was the most important person.
Right, because
So all of this comes back to us that today, whoever we're with, whatever we're doing, now is the time. They are the most important business.
And you need to tend to their needs and help them if you can.
And Gary, the whole thought you have said time and time again on this program, we have today, hopefully, we have right now, but hopefully we have the whole day. Not knowing what the king was doing, he got life to be extended because of it.
I really hope that you folks enjoyed that story. When I read it, the first thing that popped in my mind was, I've got to share this with my friends, because I believe there may be some of you that are not attending to the people that are with you, not paying attention, and not doing what you were put in this life for, which is to take care of and to help those that are with you, not somebody down the road, not what happened yesterday, but be there today and be there for the people around you. And understand that's the time is now. As you're sitting there watching this show, that is the time. Right now, that's when you have some power to act. You don't have any power to act next week. You don't have any power to act yesterday. But you have the power to act now. And that power should be used in dealing with the people that are with you at the time to try to make their life better and easier and happier. That's the lesson of this short story. And it is a good lesson. And when I read it, there was no way in the world I was not going to put it on this program, because to me it was too important.
You know, the part I also liked, and we could do this in life, we could say, oh, I have an important meeting today. I'm with a client, or I'm meeting with one of our politicians, or I'm with a real important person. What we found out through this story, the lonely hermit, who many would consider not to be important, was the most important person in the world to the king.
At that time.
At that time.
And that's why the most important person to you is the person you're with at the time, when you're being there. And as they say in the short story, you may never have a chance to deal with anybody else. You may drop dead. Who knows what's going to happen? But you have now, and you have power right this minute, because now is the time. And the person is the ones with you, and to do good toward that person.
I know the story now makes so much sense to me, because I have heard you say time and time again, when any individual walks into your office, you tell the staff, open up the door, here comes a VIP, a very important person. And the other thing, in being around you, when anyone talks with you or asks for counsel, you give them complete focus, eye contact. You engage completely in the conversation.
Everyone in my office knows one thing that I've drilled and drilled and drilled into them. The most important people in their lives is the client that comes to our office. And it's very simple. Without a client, there is no office. Without a client, there's no payday. Without a client, nothing happens. So, when you think about it, who's the most important people in my office? No question. They're the ones that determine whether we eat, whether we have a business, whether we're able to buy a car. Therefore, that everyone from the front desk all the way through, every attorney I've got, all of it, there's one thing that I drill into it. The most important VIPs in your life are the clients that walk into this office, and they need to be treated as such, because without them, nothing will happen. Let's take our final break, and we'll come right back.
I've got a question for Gary when we come back about how we can apply this story to our lives and to everything that's going on in our world right now. Stay with us. We'll be back to finish up with Simply the Law right after you see this. People are asking, what is Judo Law? Judo is a martial art that uses the opponent's strength to defeat them by not opposing it directly. Gary C. Johnson created a method of practicing law based upon that principle. It worked so well, he named it Judo Law. To see the results, go to GaryCJohnson.com. To have Gary and his team of judo lawyers go to work for you, dial pound HURT. This is an advertisement. Welcome back into Simply the Law. Gary, as you were talking, I was thinking about our world today. And you have talked on this program so many times about each individual being unique, a masterpiece, a one of a kind. You just now gave us a story where the most important person in the life of the king was the hermit. How could we take this story and move it into our lives, our businesses, our dealings with individuals, and treat them with this VIP, very important person, and give them the respect? How can we do that and change everything that's going on right now in our world?
The lesson of this program is what I'm trying to give to each of you that are watching it, is the value of human life. The value of, we wouldn't be having the protests, the looting, none of this stuff would be going on right now if some police officers had understood the value of human life. If they had seen beyond their own narrow focus or whatever they were looking at the time and realized that a human being is precious and that every human being is as precious as any other human being. And no human being has the right to use power to oppress another human being. Now, it happens all the time because people lose sight of the value of human beings, of a life. They lose sight of the value of what makes it all work as a society. Now let's assume there had been no death. You would have had bitterness against the police forever had Mr. Floyd not died. They had nothing to do but bad stuff to come from that encounter. All because they lost sight of the fact that we are all equal, that we all have the same feelings, we all have the same pains, we're all trying to struggle to just survive, to live, and they lost it.
And your point, as you've pointed out on this program, you're dealing with a unique creation from the Creator, a one of a kind, as you've said time and time again, never going to be another you, no duplicates, no same fingerprint.
No do-overs.
No do-overs. You're taking the Creator's masterpiece and you're disrespecting it. That's the sad part about it.
And so, my friends, the lesson from the parable that I shared with you, understand it and understand how important other people are, especially if they're with you. Because, number one, I'll bet you a bunch of you would be alone if you didn't have that person with you. Can you imagine how bad that would be? Terrible. There's nothing worse than being alone. So, on something where you can do something about it is your own home and the people around you. You can do something about that. Now, you can't solve the world's problems, and I can't either. I know for a fact I can't. But I can take care of what I can do for the people around me. and how I treat them and the respect I give them. And it doesn't make a bit of difference in this world, my friends, what color your skin is. You are a wonderful gift of God to the world. And you need to be treated accordingly. And please, my friends, if I don't pass anything else on to you, it's that we are all together as human beings on this earth. And the good Lord didn't mean for us to all look alike, did he? He didn't mean for us to all be the same color, did he? He didn't mean for us to all be tall or short or skinny or fat. He wanted a bunch of variety.
Yeah.
But he didn't make any one thing better than anything else. We're all the same and we're all equal. And please, folks, remember that.
You know, what a great point that you just made. Gary used to joke and say, Keith, what if every male on the earth looked like George Clooney and there was only one Gary C. Johnson? He said, women would go crazy over me because I would be the only one different. But your point from this whole thing is respect the creation that has been given. And whenever you're with someone, that is the most important person in your life at that time, and they need to be treated that way with the respect. It was a great story.
Yeah. The thing about it is, we're all on this big rock together. We can make it a wonderful place to live, or we can make it a bad place to live. Each individual, if they do their part by taking care of each into their lives, it will spread and it'll be okay. But first, trust me, there's not a single person watching this program that's going to change your world. That's not going to happen. But you can change your life and you can be happy. And remember, it feels so much better, my friends, to be happy. Ooh, 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 doesn't it? The dopamine flowing, dog, yes, sir, we're happy.
And I like what you said. You said, I, for one, am going to do my part. And that's what you're asking all of our friends to do. Instead of changing the world, start with yourself and do your part, and then let it spread, correct?
And if I can change just one of your lives, just one, to where you start thinking about this program that I just did and the things that are important, then I may have done a little bit of my part, right? So folks, let's do it. Let's be happy. And let's remember how important people are. Everybody. There is nothing more important than a human being. And we're one of them, right?
Thank you, my friend. What a wonderful story, what a wonderful lesson, and what an uplifting program. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you so much for tuning into this program. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time. Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.